Hi, my name is Josh. Today we're going to be looking at a video where we look at the different approaches when it comes to two data orchestration tools that are quite popular, Dagster and Mage. And for this little video, we're going to be looking at how to take some data from an API and push it to a bucket in Google Cloud Storage using Dagster first, and then we will look at the same issue using Mage. And so the data we're going to be dealing with is from the website, which is the NYC Taxi and Limousine Commission website. And here we have data on trip records. And so for emphasis, we're going to be looking at the year 2020, and we're going to be looking at data from October, November, and December. We're going to be looking specifically at the green taxi trip records data for these 3 months. This data can also be found on GitHub at the Data Talks Club, NYCTLC data repo. So we're just going to go down a bit and we're going to find um, the data. So the name of this data set is called the Green Trip data, as we can see, and we're focusing on October, November, December. So first thing we're going to do is hop onto our VS Code, and this is VS Code, and this is a small Darkstar project called YouTube videos right here on the left hand side. And we have our assets.py file, which we can see here. And this is where we create different um, assets, as we can see with this asset decorator here. We have some libraries at the top here that we're going to be using for this. And the asset is one of the building blocks when it comes to working with data orchestration in Dagstar. And for this specific example, we are using just one asset decorator, and this is placed just above the functions you use and create when you're working with orchestration, pipelines, so on and so forth. And so the name of this one is called Load Data from APIs and Upload to GCS. So we have here three links, and as we can see, they are clearly in the CSV file format, but they've been compressed with this .gz extension. And this right here, the taxi D types, these are the um, columns for the data set, and we want to um, put these columns in, look at the data types for each column and place them in a specific format, integer, float, string, so on and so forth. We also have some datetime columns within this data set up here, which we have specified. And so we're loading this in the pd.read underscore CSV um, approach. And we can see here that there's a parameter called compression when it comes to pd.read underscore CSV. And this creates a certain allowance to use the gzip, which is in quotes here. This is in reference to the .gz extension here. This way we're able to access the data even though it's compressed. We have the taxi D types when it comes to data type which has been declared, and then the past dates function which allows for the datetime fields columns to be acknowledged. And once we've done that, we name our data set green data set Dagster. The reason we're doing this is because we're also going to work with this same data on Mage. And so we want to be able to tell the difference between the two. And we have steps to upload this data to Google Cloud Storage. And so we're uploading this data to a bucket on Google Cloud Storage called YouTube example bucket. The name of the file that will be uploaded is called the green dataset darkstar.parquet. We want this in a parquet format. And so what we're going to do first is come to our terminal, and we're going to boot up Dagstar. And first thing we're going to do is called Dagstar dev, and this should boot Dagstar up, launch the Dagstar services as it says here in the terminal. And we're going to come to this link here, and we're just going to follow the link. And it brings us here to this beautiful UI created by Darkstar. First thing we're going to do is reload the definitions. Reason we do this is just in case we've created or added some details to this assets.py file here, we want Dagster to be able to capture that accurately. And so once that's done, um, click on it, and then we come to this black button here that says materialize selected. And so it says launch run, which we're going to just click on just to view how it's done. And so we can see this beautiful UI here that shows the progression of how the data is pulled in, and then how the data is processed by Dagster and then uploaded to our bucket in Google Cloud Storage. And this is the bucket here, YouTube example bucket. We're just going to refresh it a bit. And we can see it's empty and there are no files or folders here. Um, Meanwhile, Darkstar is still running under the hood. Okay, it's done. Um, we can see that with this green here, we have a success. And so we're going to come back here and we can see this green bar here. At first it was yellow saying never materialized. Now it's materialized, is in our buckets on Google Cloud Storage. So we're just going to refresh this just to be sure, you know. And here we have it, green dataset darkstar.parquet 5.9 MB. So this is just a simple example of working with Darkstar and uploading, files, data to a bucket on Google Cloud Storage. And now we're going to switch things up a bit and go to Mage. Still in VS Code, this is a Mage project. Just call it Mage Quick Start. And we already have something here. I'm just going to delete this for the sake of this example. And so with Mage, for this particular iteration of Mage, we're actually using Docker, sorry, not Dockstar, Docker to host this. And so this is Docker desktop, which shows we're going to start this up, the container on Docker. And we're going to come here, and to put this up, we're going to say Docker compose up, and we can see the container is spinning up, um, and it's coming up. So just a bit of a differentiation I would want to specify. Um, with regards to Darkstar, you can just type in localhost core colon 3000 if you want to get to where it's hosted. But with regards to Mage, we can see it's running. So what we're going to do is we're going to come here and we're going to type in localhost, oops, host colon 6789. Yeah. So this takes us immediately to Mage's UI. As we can see, this is our first project. There are no pipelines created, so we're just going to create a standard pipeline. Um, the name of this pipeline is called Utopian Feather. We can obviously edit it, but that's not our focus for now. So, first thing we can see is the UI is a bit different to that of Dagster. And we have some tabs here. We have the data loader tab, the transformer, the data exporter tab. For the sake of this example, we're just going to focus on two, which is the data loader tab and the data exporter. So obviously, with what these tabs mean, you can use this to load data, use this to transform data within your pipeline, and then you can export this to whatever destination you have. There's also a tab to work with DBT models. So with the data loader, there are certain options. You can load your data using Python, SQL, R, or a custom template as the case may be. But with Python, we can see that there are several options. You can load the data from a local file, MySQL, Oracle DB, Pinot, PostgreSQL, Snowflake. There's also the generic templates. But what we want to use here is the API option. And so we're just going to name this block um, from API. That's what we're going to name this. Oops, it says that this block or that name already exists. So what we're going to do is just name this let's just name this underscore from underscore API. Yeah. Save and add. Hopefully this doesn't exist. Yeah, good. So this just creates a block, a data loader block. And as we can see, there's some libraries that automatically um, imported with this template based on the option that was picked. There's also some Mage libraries here. And we can also see that Mage have their own decorator called the data loader. And they also have another decorator, which is the test. So what this does is basically, if you have some assumptions you want to test on the data you're pulling in into Mage from whatever source, you can use this block to test certain assumptions on that data. And so we also have on the right hand side this small DAG where you can use to connect the different um, blocks that you'll be creating. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to come back to Dagster and we're just going to copy some of this code. We're going to copy from here. We're going to go down and we're going to stop here. And we're just going to copy this, right? And then going to come back here and move this and paste this. So this is the same data we used with Darkstar that we're using with Mage, the same code. We're just going to make a few adjustments at the bottom here. Instead of saying green data set Darkstar, we are going to say green data set Mage. We want to be able to tell the difference between the two at the end of the day, and then return green data set Mage. Yeah, so this should work. So we are going to run this data loader block um, and just see what happens there. It's taking a bit of time. Should be done soon. Okay, great. So we can see that once the code works correctly, there's a result set, a visualization of the result set. We can see one of our own test pass, although we didn't really do anything here. So we can see the different columns within our data set. We can also see on the right hand side that there's a green tick to indicate that this block passed well without any issues. And so we're going to move on to the second step, which is our data exporter tab. We click on it and there are options here too to export data using Python, SQL, or custom templates. But we're going to use Python. And our goal here, like I said, is to export this data to Google Cloud Storage like we did with Dagster. So we're just going to click on that, even though there are a host of other options here that can be used. Google Cloud Storage. And then we're going to call this underscore to underscore GCS, just to be careful, and then we'll call this to GCS. So this is a new block that is created, and we can see automatically on the right hand side with regards to the DAG, there's an automatic connection and relationship that's being made. You can remove this connection, you can add a new block in between. So we're just going to remove this and we can connect these two blocks using the nodes that appear here to establish the relationship between the two. So what happens here is that when the first block, which is blue from API, when it runs, and we connect a second block to it, automatically the result set of the data from the first block is transferred to the second block. So now we want to connect Mage to our Google Cloud Storage so that we can have a connection to get our data set into Mage. And so to do that, there's since we're working with Google Cloud Storage, we've opened an account using Google BigQuery. And so sometimes you can use a service account to access BigQuery. And to be able to connect Google Cloud Storage and concurrently Google BigQuery to our Mage, we need a Google Service Account key. A Google Service Account key usually comes in a JSON format. And so luckily for us, we have one here called Sublime Vial. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back to our VS Code for Mage, which is here. We have the project directory. And what we're going to do now is we're going to copy and paste this JSON um, file, and we can see the details of the service account key. So that's the first step. Uh, the second step is to take a step back. Let's just make sure that this is actually within our project for me. So we're going to come here to the root directory, type in ls-la, and we can see the different files present. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy this. That's the name of our service account key, which is in a JSON format. We're going to copy this. I'm also going to take note of the address here, the root address, and we are going to come back to our pipeline called Utopian Feather, and we're going to click on Edit Pipeline. Now, what we're going to do is come here to this place called io_config.yaml on the left-hand side. And as we can see here, there are templates for different databases that Mage can connect to. There's AWS, there's Algolia, there's Azure, but we're looking for the one that has to do with the Google Service Account Key. And we can see that here. These have been commented out. This has to do with Google, connecting to Google. And the reason for that is we don't want to manually type in all of this information. It would be tedious. And so that's why these have been commented out. So what we're going to do is come to the Google Service Account Key file path, and we're going to say um, /home/src/ and then we're going to copy and paste the JSON service account key here, and we're going to save this. So now we've been able to connect our buckets and our data warehouse to Mage. And so we're going to come back to the yellow tab here, and we're going to just fill in two things here, which is the bucket name and the object key. So for the bucket name, we already know what this is. YouTube example bucket. That's the name of the bucket. For our object key, we're going to call this green dataset underscore mage. That's what we're going to call it. And we're going to run this block. And we can see at the bottom here, exporting data to bucket, YouTube example bucket, add key, green dataset mage. So there's something I forgot to do here, but I will run this block again just to show you that. So we can see it's done. So what we're going to do is come here and refresh this, refresh our bucket. And we can see green datasets Dagster.parquet, but we can also see green dataset Mage. What we forgot to do is put this in the Parquet file format. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back here to the object key, and we're going to add this dot Parquet, and we're going to run this block again. So this will upload additional data to the buckets, and so it's running again. And we can see here it's done. So we're just going to come here and we're going to refresh this page again, and we can see that we have an additional file here called green dataset mage.parquet, named just like the one we had for Dagster. With regards to the size, we can see the one for Dagster is 5.9 MB and the one for Mage is 5.3 MB. So there's a slight difference there with regards to the sizes of the files. So thank you so much for watching. This is just a short video to show some slight differences with regards to these two data orchestration tools. Thank you. Bye.